a lot of the things that I loved were muddied by the hate of bodybuilding I had. Even bodybuilding. And we did an episode, I won't go deep into it, but I wouldn't even say I was a bodybuilder. I didn't want to identify as a bodybuilder, because when I identified as a bodybuilder, I was miserable.
You know, you have to look at what has caused you pain, and what if you were wrong about what caused you pain? What caused you pain, yeah, it was bodybuilding, but not just bodybuilding. You overdid it.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was Monday's episode number 1421. What do you really care about the most, and would your behaviors show it? Today, for episode number 1422, New Seasons Bring Up Old Reasons. Interesting title. Hopefully we can make it land and connect with what we're actually talking about today. So I'm going to start this episode off with a challenge, a question. If you have a positive relationship with something during a negative time, is it possible that that would make the positive relationship negative? That's my question to start here. And that's really the direction I would like to take this episode. I was talking to somebody recently, last week, and they said, I'm a podcaster. I'd love to be a successful podcaster. I'd love to figure out what you guys have done, and can you share anything behind the scenes? And I said, absolutely. Did a call with this person, amazing human being, super heart-driven, just amazing. And we were talking about coaching. And this person said, yeah, no, I tried that. I didn't like it. And I said, okay, can you tell me more? What didn't you like about it? Because there were times in my coaching career where I didn't like coaching. But it wasn't necessarily the fact that I didn't actually like the coaching. Maybe the client wasn't super aligned, or maybe it was my own limiting beliefs. Share with me what you felt around that. And this person said, well, I ended up getting 5 or 6 clients, and I ended up getting super burnt out. And then I realized I couldn't do that anymore. And I said, so it wasn't the coaching, it was the amount of people, or whatever it may have been, the amount of people, the amount of hours. And I said, how often were you coaching them? And she said, I was doing a call every week. And I said, okay, if you change that, would it seem more reasonable for you? And she said, yeah. The fact that she enjoyed coaching is not why she doesn't want to do it. It's because there are a lot of negative things that were altering that positive relationship. And once we started digging into that, she said, oh, you know what? No, I definitely can see myself coaching. I just need to figure out a way to do it sustainably. All of this really came from when we were talking about the episode of me cooking steak. I used to cook steak in my bodybuilding preps as one of my cheat meals, and I loved it. I really enjoyed cooking steak. I enjoyed cooking. I would make eggs. I would make my chicken. I enjoyed it. I looked forward to cooking. When I had people over, I would cook for them. I loved it. The fact that I had such a negative association with bodybuilding is one of the reasons I had a negative association with cooking. And then it just stuck. And then I said, well, I don't cook. I don't know how to cook. You've heard me say that so many times. Because we've connected on that. Neither of us know how to cook. We don't cook. When in reality, I know how to cook, and there are some things I can cook really well. I just had a very negative association with it through a negative time. So to reiterate the question and the thought, if you have a positive relationship with something during a negative time, is it possible that that would create a negative relationship with that positive thing? That is our goal to chat about in today's episode.
When you say association, I want to try to make this as clear as possible.
Please.
Everything that we do, we have a certain relationship with. We have a certain association. So if you did the bodybuilding prep, which you hated, while also cooking, you might also hate cooking, even though you don't actually hate cooking. That's kind of the thesis here. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, and this is why advertisements always have, not always, but a lot of times advertisements have famous people. I always use Matthew McConaughey on the Lincoln commercials. Lincoln hires Matthew McConaughey to drive a Lincoln on a commercial so that you associate all the positive movies and the positive feelings of Matthew McConaughey with Lincoln. And this is also why, as much as I don't like this example, it's a perfect example. After the Tiger Woods thing happened with all the stuff, Nike backed out. The reason why is because Nike doesn't want to be associated with that bad negative stuff. And so bringing this back to your own central nervous system, your own life, what are the things that, whenever you have a negative experience, there's other things that leak into it. And I use my car accident as an example. I remember I was claustrophobic after my car accident. I remember ceiling fans would always bother me. I remember double yellow lines would bother me because I ended up on the wrong side of the road. But that had nothing to do with my car accident. The car accident was what my central nervous system associated danger and fears and scarcity with. Scarcity.
Scarcity.
Yeah, scarcity. Right next to Sin City in Vegas. No, so those other things were not negative. But my central nervous system couldn't tell the difference. It's like people that go to war and then they have PTSD and they hear the pop of an engine and it sounds like the pop of a bomb or the explosion of a bomb. It's the same type of thing. So I think it's a good thing to kind of figure out what used to be something that you really, really enjoyed or maybe didn't enjoy and then bring it back up and see if that was valid. You know, maybe you loved reading, but then you were forced to read in school and got bad grades. Now you hate reading. What if you still love reading? The narrative you told yourself was, I hate reading, when in reality you hate reading Jane Eyre or whatever we were forced to read back in high school. You know, and nothing against Jane Eyre. I actually think that was a pretty solid movie. I watched the movie. Of course I did. Every book report I ever did, I also watched the movie. Maybe only watched the movie, you know. The truth comes out. SparkNotes.com. You remember that, Kev?
Of course.
Spark Notes. Read the Spark Notes. Watch the movie. You're good to go. Whatever you need.
I can only imagine how easy it would be now to write a book report on anything.
Yeah, because of Blinkist.
No, if you just Googled it. If you just Googled, yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot of AI stuff, but the internet was, there were some capabilities when we were around in high school, but not like there is today.
Well, we talked about Google being only 24 years old. When you and I were 10, Google was just founded.
Yeah, it's wild.
But that's what this episode is. Bring up some old stuff, things that you really, really, really love, and things that you really, really, really don't, and see if that's still true. I think that we should all be doing that on the regular. Weird analogy, but you and I back in the day used to use Windows 95, remember? Way back. Mm-hmm. And then Windows 2000, Windows XP, Windows Vista I used for a time. They upgraded that stuff. We just talked about the audio issues we were having with Windows 11. I couldn't stand going back to this machine with Windows 10. It's better in some ways, and then it's worse in other ways. What if you could take the better and bring it into Windows 11? And then that's kind of what we're talking about in this episode is, you know, Kevin's on version 3.3. I'm on version 3.4. And whatever age you are, if you're 25, you're on version 2.5. Let's go back. Let's go back to some old versions. Let's study some old versions. Let's figure out what core values maybe you loved, and do you still love those things? If not, why not? And then the things that you think you hate or thought you hated. So, for example, Emilia thought she hated sushi. Now she loves it. Sushi Saturday. Been eating too much sushi. Love it. That.
That. I can imagine that if somebody out there, and I don't know if anybody specifically would deal with this, but imagine if the memory you have of phys ed class from high school, because I remember this was a thing for me for a very short time. I didn't want to shower in front of other people. I remember thinking,
oh yeah,
wait, I want to shower in front of these people that I go to class with? They're going to see me and they're going to see me naked? I ain't into that. Imagine if that was your first time being exposed to that. You had a negative association, and now you say, I don't exercise. I don't do fitness. I don't do exercise. I have a negative association with it.
It has nothing to do with exercise.
Yeah.
You remember how older people never had an issue with that? Because that was common way back in the day. Like at your gym and stuff, older people are just so normal for them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot
like, whoa, 21st century, sir, put on some trunks, you know?
But then again, that's
what it was normal for them, you know?
Yeah. And there's a lot of this running under the surface. It's just running under the surface. Where if you've never experienced it, I've had bouts of, when I told Alan, I said, I don't know if I want to coach, man. I don't know if I want to coach. And then sometimes it was just a client that was very challenging to work with, or somebody that I didn't really understand how to help, or somebody who had an ego, or somebody who had unrealistic expectations, or somebody that triggered something in me. It wasn't necessarily the act of coaching. It wasn't necessarily the act as much as it was the feelings around the act and the traumas or triggers or whatever it may be. If you saw me in the kitchen cooking this steak, you would think I was in love with cooking. I had music playing. I was dancing. It brought me back to that. It brought me back to what it was like for me when I used to cook for myself. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would garnish the plate. I try to get all fancy, but a lot of the things that I loved were muddied by the hate of bodybuilding I had. Even bodybuilding. And we did an episode, I won't go deep into it, but I wouldn't even say I was a bodybuilder. I don't want to identify as a bodybuilder, because when I identified as a bodybuilder, I was miserable, and I was hungry, and I was depressed, and I was anxious.
So interesting, yeah. You associate pain with the identity.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I ran away from it.
But here's the problem. You can't get bodybuilder results without really embodying that identity. That's like wanting the results of a podcaster without ever identifying as a podcaster.
Well, if you have negative associations, yeah. But I wasn't thinking about that. I don't think I was conscious of it. It was just, that was a very rough experience. I don't want to do that. Even with food, I was at the supermarket the other day and I was like, I'm going to get some of this. I was just looking in the frozen section. There's these meals I used to get. And it just took me back to when I lived with Matt and I was broke. I would get those because it was good, decent calories and they weren't super expensive.
Yeah.
So it took me back. It's like, I don't want that. It's going to take me back to, So I know it's weird and maybe, I don't know, hopefully it's landing for you if you're out there. I'm thinking of stuff like this all the time. Maybe I know I'm a weirdo, but hopefully something from it will resonate with you. I just have the experience at this point with just reflecting where I'm starting to see it in other people more and more and more of, oh, it's not, you don't hate that. You just don't like the version of that you're familiar with because you were going through something. Okay, that makes sense.
That's actually a lot of what we do in coaching, and I'm assuming that's the case with you as well. It's here's your goal. Here are the things you need to do consistently to achieve that goal. What are those things that you're avoiding on that list? Why are you avoiding that? How many times have you had someone say, I don't want to track calories? Listen, I did Weight Watchers. You were probably you're in a different spot. Tracking calories is not that bad. You just have a huge aversion to it. A lot of people have a huge aversion to the scale. What if you had a huge aversion to the scale back when you weren't this version of you? Yeah. It's so, anything that you are avoiding, I'm telling you, there's some massive pain associated with your central nervous system. There's gotta be. And this is why intimate relationships are so powerful for growth, because if there's ever anything Emilia is avoiding or I'm avoiding, we are each other's mirror. Because, what's a good example of this? She doesn't track her finances as avidly as we do. And she is like, I think I'm avoiding it. I want to change my relationship with, we did a check-in yesterday about our 3 core values, and they are erudite, align, and optimize. Emilia and I are definitely weirdos. And we rated ourselves from 0 to 10 on each, and then we said, what's one improvement? We skipped the wins because let's just improve. Do that for too long, though. It's a dangerous game. I have felt terrible about myself in the past when I overly did that. But anyway, so one of the things for her was change her relationship with food and change her relationship with finances.
Hey everyone, I'm Helen Baker from Melbourne, Australia. I'm an entrepreneur and a client of Alan's from Next Level University. I've had many business coaches in the past, and I can honestly say that Alan is seriously next level. He has this unique ability to help you find a solution to your business problems. I can be vulnerable with Alan. I can share anything and feel comfortable in his presence. I feel empowered to do incredible things. So if you're looking for a business coach, I highly recommend Alan because he will be instrumental in achieving your success.
If she is avoiding tracking finances, which I think she's actually doing it today, she has a negative association with math. She had some pretty terrible math teachers from what I can tell, genuinely. And I know a lot of our listeners will resonate with this. There are very few of our listeners, Kev. There are very few of our listeners. There are 7 in a row, man. We almost had it. 7 in a row. There are very few of our listeners that I talk about math all the time with behind the scenes. If you ever coach with me, we're going to talk math, no matter what. So our listeners usually have a huge aversion to mathematics. Not always, but it's common. Almost everyone with an aversion to math, they don't have an aversion to math. They have an aversion to a teacher they hated. Dude, you got to figure that out. It's not math that's the issue. You felt dumb or you had a teacher who made you feel dumb. It's not math that you're mad at.
Or you weren't good at it. Right. I mean, that's possible too. I wasn't very good at math and I hated it for a long time.
But now you're Mr. CFO, Jeff. You know, you're tracking the finances every day.
Yeah.
You love money, but you hate math. It's like money is math. Let's merge the two. Let's ride out into the sunset wealthy together. You know, it's important to separate that. When you parse that out, it's really fun to, maybe not fun. It's really important. It's really important.
Now you're overselling
now
it.
I'm overselling.
First of all, you said parse it out. You really parse it out.
You think parse is a good word?
I actually,
Parse.
when you said it, I was like, wow, this guy sounds wise. I take advice from you. If I just listened to the show and you said parse it out, I'd be like,
nice.
Nah.
You got to parse it out. Is it math that you have an aversion to? Is it money you have an aversion to? Think of health, wealth, life, and love. Okay? Health is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. If you're drawn to emotional health and mental health, maybe you need to work on physical health. I have one relationship that I coach, and the female in the relationship said, yeah, no, my friend, well, she's one of those fit chicks. And I remember I called her out. I said, whoa, what does fit chick mean to you? Because you can't want these amazing results without also kind of confronting the fact that you think she's one of those fit chicks. And again, I'm not trying to make fun of her, and I'm trying to help her understand that you're never going to have the same results as that woman if you keep making fun of her unconsciously and making fun of quote-unquote fit chicks. Just like Kev, you don't want to be seen as a meathead bodybuilder, but you do want to be jacked. You got to be careful.
I am one. I'm a meathead bodybuilder now. I accept it. But I did
everything that comes with it, you know?
It was never that. I don't know if it was ever that. I don't care about being a meathead. I just had a lot of pain around it. I had a lot of pain around being a bodybuilder. Those some of the most miserable times of my life.
Yep.
Some of those, probably top 3 worst times of my life. I've said this on the podcast before. I am probably one of the rare people that you will meet that I actually paid money to get out of a job. I paid $1,000 to get out of a personal training contract early because I said I would stay there for at least a year, or I'd pay $1,000 fine, quote unquote. And the reason was sales. I had a negative association with sales because they wanted me to sell in a certain way that was not aligned for me. I didn't want to tell people they were going to die if they didn't lose weight. It wasn't true. You're not that obese. It's not that you're not going to die, most likely. I'm not going to tell you you're not going to be around to see your grandkids. That's not aligned for me. And then when we started this business and tried to figure out how to make money, and I had to learn sales, that was very challenging for me because I associate it with being sleazy and greasy and dirty and selling people at the expense of themselves. Now I love sales. I'm reading books on sales. I teach sales. I love it. I love sales because I redefined what it actually meant. All it means is help. There's changed SALE to HELP. Same thing. If you're doing it in your own aligned way. But that took a lot of conditioning, and it took me being very broke to rebuild my relationship with that as well.
Yeah, definitely. The pain got great enough to where you were like, you know what, maybe sales.
Sales is something.
Kev, you sold me on that movie.
You're sold on it.
Yeah, man. When I asked Kevin, what episode was that? 2 episodes ago?
It could have been any episode.
What was the name of it?
I could be anything.
What's the name of the movie, man?
Oh, Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, yeah. Kevin sold me on that. And I said, hey, why should I go see that movie? You said great movie, inspiring, maybe not inspiring, but true story. You learn a lot. Yeah, contextual history.
I just listed out words. History. Contextual. Graphics. Inspire.
That would actually work on me.
You'll get to have popcorn when you go. There you go. That's all you need to know.
But that's the thing, right? You are selling 24/7, 365. You just don't call it that. And nothing moves until something's sold. But if you have a huge negative aversion to sales because you had a job like Kev where they made you go outside of alignment, anytime you are way outside of alignment with a core value, you have massive pain. Whenever you have massive pain, you're going to swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. That doesn't necessarily mean that you landed at 5. It means you didn't. It means you probably overswung. I am convinced that all of us are born not knowing who we are, not knowing what we are, not knowing our skills and weaknesses, not being self-aware, naked, scared, and ignorant. And I think that over time, we go out into the world and we try things and we explore and we experiment and we have a little kitten that's exploring and it's so fun to watch. She'll only go like 6 feet away from her dad and then she'll come back and then she'll try 7 feet and then she'll come back. And we're all kind of doing that. And there's that great quote of, you'll never put your hand on a hot stove again, but you'll probably never put it on a cold one either. Because you're just going to assume every stove is hot. You're going to assume every sushi is bad. Every math is bad. You have to look at what has caused you pain. And what if you were wrong about what caused you pain? What caused you pain, yeah, it was bodybuilding, but not just bodybuilding. You overdid it.
Definitely.
If you had body built in a more aligned, healthy way that was sustainable, you wouldn't have had so many difficulties. For me, alcohol caused me so much pain. And so I swung all the way in the other direction. I'm like, I'm never going to drink again. That is my choice. But would it be the worst thing in the world to have one? I don't think it'd be a big deal. I'm not going to. And that's my choice. But I'm not also naive enough to think that that's not because of all the pain. Yeah. And that's why I'm not like, how dare thee have a glass of wine? It's all good. It's just not for me. So.
If you do ever have a beer, better be with me, you son of a bee.
I don't think I will.
No, I hope so. I
hope not. I also hope not.
Right. Discipline. Inspire. Technology. You have anything you want to say before we go, man? I got to get out of here. My eyes are watering all of a sudden. I think I've pushed it too far.
Yeah, definitely. 7 episodes in a row. Strong work.
This is good.
You strong work.
Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
That's what Kevin says at the end of every episode. He says strong work, and I
also
say strong work, and you say you strong work.
Sometimes I say that was the worst thing I've ever heard in my life of all time ever.
No, you never said that.
No, usually you do. Anything you want to say before we go?
Next level nuggets. Let's do it.
Mine is ask yourself that question: Are there any things that I had a positive relationship with during a negative time that tainted it negative? What can I do for you?
I'm sorry to laugh. I had a flashback to a moment.
Let's hear it.
Kev, I swear to you, this is not super valuable. FYI, best hook ever, I know. So I was at the Burger King drive-thru at one point, right? Have you ever ordered chicken McNuggets?
No.
At Burger King?
I don't order chicken McNuggets. I cannot eat it. It's gross. Even when I got the chicken from Domino's, I bit into a vein and I threw them all away and I'll never get it again.
Seriously?
I don't like chicken.
The Domino's chicken is bomb.
They did me dirty. Go ahead. You were sitting in the drive-thru for the 9th night in a row in the Burger King drive-thru.
I asked for chicken McNuggets.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, what? I was like, okay. Just regular nuggets, please. It was actually hilarious. It was a really funny moment. They are apparently very upset that I called their nuggets McNuggets because they're competitors. That was a completely irrelevant story.
It was.
You continue.
Yeah, we're going to go. That's it.
Why did I think of nuggets? Oh, yeah, next level nuggets. Got it. Yep.
What is yours? Do you have one?
Yeah, I do. Here's my next level McNugget. It would be this. Anything that you've decided you hate or anything that you've decided you love, there's probably some truth to that, but most likely there's more to learn. And yeah, everything that you love, you learned to love. Everything that you hate, you learned to hate. And there's implications to that. Explore that.
Okay. If you're listening, I'm going to do something a little different today. We're going to spread some positivity. If you're listening to this, this is my request. Send somebody a message and just tell them you're thinking of them. Send them a text, call them, send them an email, whatever. Send them a pigeon. You'll throw a letter on a pigeon, send it, whatever you do to send stuff to people. Do that. You're going to go see them in person, do that. But yeah, tell somebody you care about them and check in on them and make sure they're doing all right. That is my call to action for this episode.
If you feel like you've been avoiding things in your life, you feel like you've been procrastinating, you feel like you've been... Who was it recently? One of my clients said, I feel like I need to be unlocked. I feel like there's a next level for me. And we just started digging. And there were tears. Tears flew. I'm telling you, when you face uncomfortable truths and tears fly, there's another version of you on the other end of that. It's the old phoenix burning down and the new phoenix rising from the ashes. I really do adore that analogy. Transformation can happen, but only if you dig where you don't want to dig. The gold is buried where you least want to dig. I will help you dig there. I'll ask you the questions. I'll ask you many questions that are going to get to the gold, for lack of better phrasing. So, free 30-minute session with listeners. I'm currently doing that. Click the link in the show notes. Book on my calendar. We'll dig deep together for some next level McNuggets.
Tomorrow for episode number 1423, a vulnerable conversation about love. You didn't know we were going to do that.
I didn't.
We are going to do that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep digging. Next Level Nation.